You're very fast. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Mr. Michael Biehn, Mr. Lance Henriksen. I think the band will start at 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock in 1 hour. They're doing sound checks right now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
They were doing sound checks yesterday when they did my interview stuff.
You want to sit in the middle?
No, go ahead.
So Lance, what's your favorite movie?
Oh, that's so bad. That's the worst. My favorite movie is the last movie I ever did. That's it. That's it, man.
My movie, favorite movie?
It
My favorite
was
movie?
a joke for him. You don't have to answer that.
Okay.
Okay. So for the start, can you tell us a little bit about the Terminator production? You both starred in the Terminator, and can you tell us a little bit, some stories about the production?
You want to talk about the Terminator production? Well, the Terminator we made in 1983. It was released in 1984. The thing that's interesting about the Terminator is that, you know, people think of that as being this huge hit movie now, you know, because it's been almost 30 years. And it was made for $6.5 million, and it made 40, so it was a very successful movie, but it was not like a huge, huge hit. To give you an example, that same year that the Terminator made $40 million, Karate Kid Part 2 made $90 million. So really the Terminator, I believe, became very, very successful because that's when people started getting VCRs in America. And that's when everybody started using their VCRs. And I think that most people saw the movie on VCRs. And it was a movie that we had a lot of fun shooting. And I was just saying that Lance and Cameron had known each other, and they had worked before, and he can talk about that, but I had a great time doing it, and I love Jim Cameron, I love Lance. I've been blessed to work with both of them. Lance, of course, in Aliens too. He was brilliant in Aliens, just a brilliant actor, and I've just been blessed, and I'm lucky that I had a chance to work with both these guys.
You want to talk about Jim Cameron? You want to know about his first movie? It was $300,000, and I think the producer took 150 of that, so we were left with 150. And then when the movie came out, you know, in a limited release, I think it made I think they made all their money back, but that's it. So we had a rough time shooting that movie for $150,000. And we don't even like to talk about it, but we met each other and all of us, and it was a good adventure for that reason. And the band started up, so now I'm just going to dance for you. You're not going to hear anything, man. That's it. It's over.
We have to speak very loud. So we're open for questions from the audience. Come over here. People can come to the table and ask questions.
I have a question for Mr. Biehn on Tombstone.
Yeah.
And I was wondering about the chemistry you had with Val Kilmer in the final confrontation.
Well, Val Kilmer actually is a very, very hard-working actor, and Val and I, when we decided to shoot the last scene, he and myself went out one day before we shot it. And the rest of the crew and the rest of the cast was shooting something else. And Val and I decided that we were going to shoot that gunfight, and we were going to shoot it close. Instead of like in most gunfights in the old Western days, men were always very far away. A lot of times in those gunfights they couldn't hit each other because the guns weren't that accurate. So we decided we would shoot it close, and we rehearsed it all day. And we rehearsed the moves and how we were going to move, and how he was going to shoot, where I was going to be shot, and how I was going to struggle. My gun would go off, and he would. So we really, really rehearsed it. So by the time we shot it, it was very, very easy. So Val has a reputation sometimes for being difficult. And usually people that have a reputation for difficult are like they're perfectionists and they want things to be right. And so they won't continue unless things are right. And he's very much a perfectionist. And I've worked with him on another movie too, and I really like working with him because it's a great scene. And the reason it's a great scene is because he and I went out, spent the whole day rehearsing it the day before we shot it.
You know, I've done about 5 westerns, and that's one of my favorite scenes in a western. You got it.
I've got a question for Mr. Henriksen. During your career, you played a lot of bad guys, like in Hard Target, for example. So from an actor's point of view, what's interesting in playing those bad guys?
He was asking me about bad guys, what's good about playing bad guys. I don't have to go to jail for the things I do. And the great thing is that I have a lot of, I guess for any abuses that you've ever experienced in your life, the only way to get back at that is through your art. And if playing a bad guy, I probably killed one of my stepfathers about 100 times. And it was really good. It felt good. Yeah.
Hey guys, great to see you. I grew up on your shit, it's an honor to see you. I want to know what's your worst memory of shooting aliens? Because that's my favorite.
The worst memories?
Yeah, the worst story while shooting aliens.
Wait, Lance, well, I'm not sure if Lance were you in the scene when the roof fell in on us? When we were in the rover that took us to the...
Yes, I was.
Yeah, and it caught fire, and we were in what did they call that thing? It was
I know.
It's like a little Jeep, and we were heading out.
It's a tow machine that tows big airplanes. That's what it is.
Right.
And then he built the other thing on it, and it went on fire.
And the fire caught the paint that was inside of it that had just been painted. It became very toxic, and it became very like if we'd stayed in it for maybe a minute, we'd all be dead. But they got us out, but it was pretty scary.
We bailed really quick.
Yeah.
They all trained Marines now, so they bailed really fast. I just held my
We
breath.
left him in there. Yeah.
The breath I don't have, by the way. How did you know about that?
He didn't know about it. He said, "What was the word?"
Oh, you spilled the beans.
I did.
You spilled the Michael beans.
I don't talk about that very often.
No.
The bad parts. No, maybe not.
So, next question, please.
Better hurry before the band starts again.
No questions at all there.
Hello.
Hey.
I want
Hello.
to ask Mr. Henriksen about work with Jim Jarmusch on Deadman. Was this something different from other shoots, or how he's like?
Whenever you work with John Woo, you guys know who he is, John Woo. They always call it Woo's Railroad because he sets so much track up. The camera never stops moving. It's not only rolling, but it's going up and down, and it's like ballet. It's like music.
Roller coaster.
Yeah. And if John is such a nice guy that the music's starting again. He's such a nice guy that if he asked you, "Do you mind if I set you on fire?" And I went, "Sure." Oh, but only for you, John. This is background music for this story. But anyway, he's a great man. He's so creative on the set that when he tells you what he wants to do, you can't wait to do it.
So,
Any other questions?
I have a question. Can you tell us a little bit how you got involved in the Planet Terror project?
Yeah, I just got a call from Robert Rodriguez, and he asked me to come down and talk to him, and was in Los Angeles, and he explained to me the whole Grindhouse phenomenon. And I had grown up watching Grindhouse movies. I used to go to drive-in movies when I was a kid, and my parents would go to see Cat on a Hot Tin Roof with Paul Newman and Elizabeth Taylor. Okay, that was the movie they wanted to see. It's outdoor theater. But before that movie would show, there'd be another movie, and we'd be all on the playground, not in the cars yet, down by the screen, and it was almost before it even got dark, they would start another movie, and it would always star like Vic Morrow and Connie Stevens or something like that, it'd be about motorcycles or, like zombies and so on and so forth, and those are the Grindhouse movies. So, what was the question?
How did you get involved in the project?
Oh, yeah. So anyway, he was in LA, and he called me, and he just asked me to be in it, and I said that I would love to be in it. So, well, the interesting thing about Robert was that Robert told me about my entrance in the movie. And he said, Michael, when you enter the movie, the audience is going to cheer. And I was like, all right. He's a brilliant guy, Robert. Brilliant guy. And so we went to the screening, and I went to the screening, and 20 minutes into the movie, I come busting through the hospital doors, and I swear to God, the whole movie theater, man, they just went up on their feet, screaming, clapping, and it's just, he's a brilliant guy. As a matter of fact, I just saw Robert about a week ago. He's got his own network for television now, and he is remaking From Dusk Till Dawn as a television series, and that's what he's doing right now.
So, over there, yeah.
Hey guys, nice to have you here. My question is, you worked with Carrie Henn on the Alien set, and I heard she didn't have any experience in acting and stuff, and she was a child. How was it to work with her in these extreme kind of scenarios, and was she a funny girl? How was it to work with this kid? You, actually.
I did.
Both of you.
Yeah, well, I did not have a lot of experience with her. One of the experiences that I had is I replaced another actor, and so one of the very first things that I shot was with when Carrie was hiding, and I was reaching underneath to grab her, and the other actor had played it like, come here, like he was angry, And when I played I smiled. And Jim Cameron said at that point he knew that, he made a right decision to change actors because it was my smile, and that I had a nice smile that brought, her out. But we didn't really get a chance to work too much with her because she was always with Sigourney, and she was always working with Sigourney. But I had one scene where we had plans, and we were all looking around at the plans, and that's the one where Paxton's like, "Oh, you go, you can fucking go. I'm not going," And he does this famous thing. But I had a chance to say to Jim, like, this little girl's down here, and she's trying to see, and I don't think it's fair that she doesn't get to see. And so it would be okay if I picked her up and put her on the table, And it was a nice moment for Hicks. Like not to just leave her out, pick her up, put her on the table, let her see what was going on. So it gave me a nice opportunity, but that's really, mostly she was working with Sigourney. And a lot of the times that you see Sigourney running around that movie, it's not really her it's a puppet, yeah.
I met her as a full-grown woman, and she has 2 kids. And one of them is a little girl who looks exactly like Newt. Exactly. I mean, it was like, I swear to you, it was shocking. I went, oh, time stop. Time stop. You know what I thought you said? The sound is so bad in here. What was it like to work with an idiot chef? That's what I thought you said. And I went, how am I going to answer that? But anyway, cool.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Just want to ask about Jim Jarmusch and the work on Dead Man.
Yeah, that's one of the westerns that I did. I mean, Jim Jarmusch is like probably when I got the role, and I shouldn't have gotten it because the first thing I said to him when I met him was, "I don't want to say anything in the script that you wrote." And he said, "I said I know you wrote it, and you have to have all of that narrative in there and that dialogue, but it doesn't have anything to do with what I want to play as that character. I wanted to play an ecological disaster that would kill anybody or anything with bad teeth, silver teeth, and toothaches." And I said, "I don't know what I'm going to say, but I know that we'll find it." That's really true.
Yeah.
And I risked not getting hired. And he said, "Well," it was like I put him on a spot, but he's the kind of guy that I knew what I was doing about that we would find it, because you don't have to have this guy talking all the time, especially not that character. And so he went along with it, and I worked on that movie for 4.5 months. But the point is that westerns, when you work on a moment like that he was talking about, that final duel, and in fact the build up to the duel where you're playing with showing the gun, and he's using a tin cup to agitate him, and then that final duel is just dynamite, man. But there were things. I stayed on the same horse for 3.5 months, and I bought my own guns, and I tried to make it as authentic, as interesting as I could for myself too. So, but Jarmusch was I don't know. He's again. I get hooked into guys that are like real kind of poets. I just worked with Mamoru Oshii, and he's a Japanese director, and he's like a poet. And so was John Woo, and I got very lucky. I guess it's a kindred poet. Did that make any sense to you guys?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I have a question for the both of you about late Stan Winston. You worked on special effects on Aliens, but you also were directed by Pumpkinhead. So what are your experiences about the man Stan Winston?
Stan directed me in Pumpkinhead, and one of the things, he not only created the monster, but the script was forged by him finally, and he left it open for me to do a really good character. I wanted kind of bad teeth, like buck teeth in the front, because I was playing like a rural guy that had never even thought about his appearance, and I actually put the fake teeth in, and it snapped my own tooth, so I didn't have to use it. So anyway, I got it repaired later. But Stan was so creative that he just was nonstop trying to figure out where this was all going. CG hadn't come in yet, and so everything was practical. And Stan was very versatile at trying to move it to the next level. I think there's a place for both CG and practical effects. I personally like practical effects more. But we've been on the set for hours, days, weeks, and months with Stan, so the personality that he had will never wear away. I mean, I can hear his voice if I just think about him for a minute. He's a good man, a very good man, hardworking.
I'll give you an example of what a good guy he was. I called him at one point. I had a son who was doing a project in school, and I think he was about 10 or 11, maybe 12 at the time. And he wanted to know if he could see his studio, and he was interested in special effects. And Stan, who at that point was working for Spielberg, Stan won 8 Academy Awards, and you don't win 8 Academy Awards by standing around and like not doing anything, and like just hanging out. But we made an appointment, and he took myself and Kiefer Sutherland's stepson, actually, by the way, and took the two of them on a tour of his studio, from the Terminator all through the Jurassic Park and all the stuff that he did. And took about, I would say about an hour with these two children that were interested in special effects, explaining to them along the way how these things were made and how they worked. And that's the kind of guy he was. He would give an hour to, you know, two 10-year-olds who had a school project to do. At the same time, I'm sure Spielberg was breathing down his neck for, you know, that day's work or the following day's work.
There's another element too, that now there are about 5 or 6 companies in LA that do special effects, you know, practical effects, and they all work with Stan, and now they're their own studios, you know, basically their own studios.
Yeah, all these, when we did the Terminator, he had about 5 kids working. When I say kids, they were like in their early 20s, and now they all have their own, you know, studios and stuff, you know. And they all stayed with him, and he was very loyal and very, very hardworking. And I was like, you know, it wasn't really, you know, because when I got the Terminator and they told me like Arnold was in it, at that time he was kind of a joke. Nobody taking him very seriously. I didn't really know who Jim Cameron was. He got fired off of Piranha 2. You know, the story was about like some robot that came from the future, and I was supposed to follow some girl who works at Bob Big Boy. And I was like, I didn't have a lot of confidence in it, you know. But when turned out Arnold got a movie, and I had a chance to spend a lot of time with Jim, and we spent a lot of time with Stan at the studios, and I got to look at a lot of his drawings, and I got to look at a lot of the way that he was building the Terminator, and I got to see the Terminator up close, how they were going to shoot it, how they were going to do the visual effects. And that's when I said to myself, you know what, this really could turn out good, because the visual effects on it I thought were going to be a lot better than I expected.
You know what, this is probably the last one that we're going to do of this, you know, for this show. And personally, I'd just like to thank everybody for being so interested in us. I'm very happy that I came to Germany this time. I had finished the film in Berlin, but it's nice to meet you all, and thanks a lot. Thanks for being interested.
And I would like to say, actually my family came from, my family many years ago is from Alsace-Lorraine, and I come from that area, so anytime that I'm in Germany, and I've been in Germany many times, in Munich and Wiesbaden and many different places, I feel kind of like there's something about Germany that when I'm here, I feel like I'm at home. And I don't know what it is. I think it's something in my genes, through my ancestors, you know. It's no place else, not in Paris, not in England, not in Japan, not in China. No place that I've ever traveled before that I feel more home than when I'm in Germany. And you know, I'd just like to thank you for coming out, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Michael Biehn and Mr. Henriksen.